One of the most fun things I did last year was my Warhammer Fantasy Battles 6th edition unboxing and retrospective with Oculus Imperia. Since then, I have still been getting comments on that video asking if I plan on painting the sets or doing any more 6th edition content. Well, today the answer is yes, but I won't be doing it alone, because I am challenging 5 of my friends along with you to build a square-based fantasy army all along with me. Welcome to a tale of 6 warlords. So what exactly is a tale of 6 warlords? Well, it's based on a tale of 4 gamers, a format established by White Dwarf magazine in the 1990s, where 4 Warhammer players would each get a monthly budget to paint and build a brand new army. They would have features in the magazine where they would each discuss their progress, how they painted their armies, as well as battle reports so you could see the armies in action. And while this series isn't going to have battle reports, or have nearly as many constraints as that format, the concept is still the same. Me and a few of my friends each challenge each other to work on some retro, square-based fantasy armies, and some of us will be doing this as a single video, some of us as an ongoing series. Regardless, all of those videos are going to be put into a playlist that I've linked down in the description. Early on in the brainstorming process, I decided I was going to build an Empire army to be sort of the standing guard for my Howl City project, and Tyler had decided he was going to do an Orc army because he's Tyler. So we decided to do a little swapsies, and I sent him all of my Orc figures from the 6th edition box set, and he sent me all of his Empire figures, as well as a few little fun Tyranid bits for my Tyranid army. Thank you very much, Tyler, that was nice of you. This was a hard decision because I really love my Orc models, but at the same time, the likelihood that I'm going to actually paint them goes down further as time goes on, and I know that Tyler, being the biggest Orc fan I know, will obviously give them a better home than I will, so I'm happy to just send them off to him and let him do whatever he's going to do with them.
Hi, my name is Tyler Russo, and this is how to paint an Orc board chariot outside of your friend's therapist's office. First step is to...
For any project like this, I find it's helpful to set a few ground rules so the project doesn't go completely off the rails. So without further ado, here are the ground rules that I set for myself on this project. Rule number 1, no buying new stuff. I've got too much stuff already, so the only thing I'm going to use for this army is models I already have, models that are gifts like the ones Tyler sent me, or ones that I can 3D print on my home 3D Printatron. Number 2, quick and dirty. I want to get this done within a week because I need to, and I'm just going to make an army as fast as I can, and it'll be a speed painting project. I think it'll be good for me to do something fast instead of meticulous and overplanned. Even what I'm saying right now, I'm just going on and on. I could easily just cut. Number 3, retro 2D art, not retro heavy metal. When I started this project, I thought it would be fun to try and mimic the artwork of old White Dwarf magazines. So like bright colors, goblin green bases, things like that. But when I actually tried to do that, it actually felt kind of hollow and boring to me. Maybe because I wasn't actually painting these models at that time. So instead, I decided to go down a different route, trying to mimic the 2D art of the time instead of the 3D art. There are already a lot of people out there doing stuff like this in the INQ28, AOS28, and similar communities, so I ended up taking a lot of inspiration from these when I was building my army. With our rules in place, it's time to get started kitbashing some models. In order to make our Imperial kits stretch further, I decided to do some 3D printing. This gives us some new kitbashing parts as well as entirely full bodies to work with, and the kits I ended up going with were the fantastic Duchies of Vinci figures from One Page Rules. While they are sponsoring this video, even if they weren't, I probably would have bought these models to use for this video anyway. They're the perfect scale for what I'm going for with this army, pre-supported, and I like how easy it is to print out the individual parts as well as entire characters. If you're looking for some Empire models that emphasize the more inventor, mechanical nature of the Empire, or if you're looking to expand another army such as space bugs, lizard people, women in power armor, dwarves, and all kinds of other common archetypes, I would highly suggest that you check out One Page Rules, Patreon, my mini factory page, or their Etsy page if you don't have a 3D printer and just want to buy the prints physically. The link is down in the description. I started by printing out 10 crossbow soldiers, as well as some extra bodies, extra backpacks, a ton of different helmets to customize my existing Imperial troops, and then I got to work kitbashing everything together, cutting up heads, bodies, arms, and cramming them all together with super glue and 2-part epoxy putty. I wasn't too picky about what got stuck together, and my focus was on doing this in a quick and dirty fashion. My final goal was to make 2 units of 10 soldiers, 10 crossbow users, and 10 spear holders, and in order to save time as well as for the aesthetic, I gave them all helmets instead of bare faces. Once they were done, I took a little bit of inspiration from the artwork of Max Fitzgerald and his game Turnip 28, and gave these units some basing paste and foliage to make them look like they've been trudging through the swamps for hundreds of years in search of their lost castle. This decision may or may not have also been inspired by the Free Guild soldiers in that recent swamp-based Age of Sigmar trailer. And in order to help light their way, I also added a few candles to the few of the figures, and I was pretty happy with the results. For the general of the army, I decided to use a paladin from the D&D chainmail range that was released around the same time as these Empire kits and is in a similar scale. I went pretty hard kitbashing her to look like a proper Imperial general, putting her on a square base, giving her a helmet and a feather on top, as well as a ton of foliage and flowers and stuff to match the aesthetic of the rest of the army. Overall, I'm a huge fan of how this army is looking so far, and we're only 2 days into the build process, so let's see what we can get done when we start painting the army. But before we start painting, I just wanted to bring up an important cause that I think is worth checking out if you haven't already. One of my collaborators from this video, Mitch from Tyrannosaur, runs a channel where all of the proceeds go towards Parkinson's research. Mitch has been running a fundraiser for the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research, and he's already very close to meeting his yearly goal of $6,000. So if you can afford to, I would highly encourage you to donate to this important cause. The links are down in the description to the fundraiser and Mitch's channel. Before starting all the painting, I attached all of the models to these plastic tiles that I have way too many of now. Check out last week's video if you're wondering why I have too many plastic tiles now. And I attached them with poster putty just to make them a little bit easier to paint in large batches. I first primed all of the models in a matte black spray, followed up with a lighter spray from above using one of my favorite brown colors, Oculus's Beard. After this, I thought I might give all of the models a green spray along their base rim to give them that classic Games Workshop green base look, but it ended up looking terrible, so I just repainted it black. We're not doing green. I really wanted to do goblin green bases, but it just doesn't really work with the army aesthetic, I'm sorry. After that, I re-highlighted some of the raised areas on the model with an ochre yellow color, and it really didn't make a huge difference to how the models look, but I did accidentally spray it all over the place. So that was the important lesson to learn here, is to clean your airbrush more often. Finally, I added a little pinch of color to my models using a red ink just to paint some of the foliage on the models and some of the little feathers in their caps, some other little details like that. Again, you could do this with a brush. I'm just saving time here by using my airbrush. With the base colors complete, this army was pretty much already ready to be played with, but I wanted to add some extra fun details because I had a little bit of time left and I figured you guys would want to see more details. To start with, I used a small flat dry brush to dry brush all of the metal parts in a silver paint. I did this in a pretty quick and dirty way, and next I used some Reikland Flesh Shade to add some weathering and depth to all of the metals on the armor. Once this was done, I used pale sand to add a few little details to all kinds of parts of the model, adding little checker marks, designs, highlights, weathering. I pretty much did all I could do with pale sand before realizing that it looked a little bit too bright, so I switched over halfway to using pale sand's cousin, dark sand, which is just a little bit more yellow and darker. I then used some of my liquid rust pigments to add a little bit more color to the models without going completely off the monochromatic color wheel that we're doing here. So I just added a little bit of red and rusty orange pigments to the models in various places, having fun with it. I probably did some other steps here that I'm not thinking of, and I generally fussed around with these models over the next few days, but for the most part, they were done. And it was only when I tried displaying them on my Howl city boards that I realized goblin green bases would contrast perfectly with the reddish brown color of the roadways. So I repainted all of the base rims to be goblin green at the last minute, and I'm really glad that I did. It gives them that nice classic look, and yeah, they're done. Thank you so much for watching my first army video for my Warhammer Fantasy Battles Empire Army. I think these are going to be sort of the town guards for my Howl City project, so you're going to be seeing these pop up a lot more in videos from now on, hopefully. If you like this project, be sure to check out the full playlist and watch everyone else's videos, because there's a lot of cool projects that we all kind of worked on together, and I think you should go and check out these channels. They're all my friends, and you should go and check them out. Although some of these videos might not be on YouTube yet, so just stay tuned over the next few days. Those videos will show up eventually. Thank you again to One Page Rules for sponsoring this video, and be sure to go and check out their link in the description down below for a great deal on figures like the ones I'm using in this video today. As always, I'd like to extend a huge thank you to my patrons on Patreon. I wouldn't be able to do these videos without you, so thank you so much as always, and I hope you have a lovely night, morning, afternoon, and I will see you in the next video.